Welcome to Art with Lorien, the place to reconnect with your divine inner artist and discover the joy of painting outside the lines. And so welcome to my home studio, Waterfront Studios here. And this is an in the studio episode. And so welcome. In this episode, I'll be sharing how to blend paints, how to blend those hard edges that we sometimes see when we lay down a color and another color next to it, and they're from opposite sides of the color wheel, or they're just, maybe they're warm or cool, but there's a hard edge there. We want to soften that edge. So I'm going to be sharing a technique and how I'll be using acrylic paints and some glazed mediums to go ahead and kind of diffuse and blur those edges, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Whether you're working with gouache or acrylic, you can apply these techniques. And so I'm going to sign off from here and meet you back over at my painting where I'll be showing you what I'll be using. Okay, so here is my painting. Here are the brushes that I'll be using. I'm just going to hold those up. Just a variety. I have a few sizes, some flats, rounds, and and I have my palette here. And so I'm going to go ahead and here's the painting I'm working on. And as you can see, I have some really bright colors here, some aquas, and then some pinks and warms here. Now I'm going to be blending the edges on the petals, or on this pink area. And so what I'm going to do, this paint is already dry, so I'm just going to bring in, so here's a dry brush I'm using. I'm going to bring in a dark kind of, let's see here, a dark kind of reddish purple, I should say. And I'm going to bring that in here. So I'm using a very light touch. Paint loaded up on a dry brush. And I'm going to add a little bit of darker now to that area. So I'm blending and I'm applying paint in layers, wet on top of wet paint. And then I'm going to bring in a lighter color. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. I am using just a brush right now. And it's a dry brush application. And a couple of the things I like to do is, this is one of them, put down with the dry brush first and layer. And then you can use your finger to blend. So I'm basically blending within the same color family. You can see that. I'm going to zoom in here. So I'm blending in right here. I put down some dark color. I put light kind of next to it. And I used a dry brush. I'm going to put dark again just to illustrate that again. Dry brush. There's no water on this brush. And I'm using my finger to kind of do circular motions and blend those colors in there so that's a nice creamy kind of blended effect. Now I'm going to put the light in again. See that? Here's the light. So this is like a very light, kind of like a mauve color. And I'm using the dry brush still. I'm using circular movements with my brush. And I'm going to use a different finger and just again come in and blend these colors. Now, it did get a little delineated, so I'm going to spray some water on here. Use my finger and then come in and blend again. And then I'm going to also bring in that dark again. Bring some of that dark back. Let's see if I can get. So I'm going to use a new brush now. Bring in more of that dark purple. Just put it in here. And blend those paints with my finger. Now, another thing you can do, let's say this isn't looking how you were going, what you were going for, if it's not what you like. Another thing that I'm going to do is apply a dry paper towel to this area right here. And I'm going to remove some of the paint with my dry paper towel. So as you know, I do like to use Viva paper towels that are Viva brand, and there's no pattern on them. So I'm just going to wrap my fingers around this and just come in and kind of blot and remove some of the excess paint because it got a little too saturated with paint. This also can be used, this paint can be used to put in other places. It's now like a little paddle brush that I'm using with my fingers wrapped around, or the paper towel's wrapped around my fingers. So I'm just kind of blotting here. Also removing what I don't like, what I don't want. So I'm going to bring in some lighter now. It actually has some white in it. See that? So I'm just bringing this in. Because when you keep working in wet paint layers, they all mix. But yeah, this is good. I'm bringing in the dark again. Okay. And so a couple ways, another thing you could do is circles with the brush, circles with your fingers, using the paper towel, using the spray bottle. I mean, there is a hard edge, like I said, here and here, but I don't want to blend these. I want to keep that because the point of this painting is to have this high contrast in here. But I'm talking about blending within colors, the same color family in this case. If you do want to blend two different families of colors, one thing you can do is add a little bit of white with some glaze. I'll just show this now. So I'm going to use my glazing medium and a little bit of white. Mostly glazing medium though, just a little bit of white. And this kind of softens it. Although, you know, to really get that, I mean, that's one way to soften it, is to come in with some glazing medium, you know, even like 80% glazing medium, 20% pigment. I'm using acrylic paints today. Come in and just go around those edges. It does soften the edges. You could also come in with that turquoise and put white and blend and diffuse those edges as well. I'm going to just keep it with these colors today. So I think the main message of this particular video is to show how you can use your fingers, your paper towel, use the brush in creative ways, not just stroking the paint on there or applying it in the traditional form, but really you know, blending in circles, using circles to apply the paint. And I do like to paint in different areas around the same time if I'm using that color. And I do work in layers and let it dry in between sessions. So I'm going to add some water when it's wet. And another good way is to add water. You can blend with a very wet canvas. So the water was applied with the spray bottle. And if it's ever too much, again, you can just take your paper towel here and I'm going to blot it out. This actually removes paint and keeps it where you want it. If there's too much paint, it reduces. I mean, it can really remove a lot of paint, so be careful if you don't want that. But yeah, so these are just a couple of ways I wanted to show on how to blend This is within the same kind of area of the painting, using the similar warm or cool colors. I'm using the warm colors today. And then to diffuse those edges, again, you can use your acrylic glazing medium, or water if you're using gouache, and a very small amount of white. And so hopefully that helped you. This is useful to you. And yeah, I'll meet you back in front of the camera. Okay, so welcome back. I hope that was useful for you, and that my brief demonstration showed you a little bit how to blend using acrylic paints and acrylic glazing medium to create that softened edge, and to kind of mix colors on the canvas and blend them. And as far as the edges, you can soften them using the glazing medium and a little bit of white paint. Of course, if you're using gouache, it's very easy to blend them. I talk a lot about that in my other episodes. They're very different paint than acrylic. But hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for watching. Feel free to ask questions in the comment section. And thank you for joining me. Until next time, I'll see you in the studio.